Hello there and welcome to this deck review of WarGame Red Dragon. As you know, it's in closed beta and we are going to take a look at the Commonwealth deck. The Commonwealth has 3 different nations, so this is going to be a pretty lengthy review. And what I'm going to do is to go through each category, looking at each one of the nations in succession. So, well, let's get started and let's start with the logistics for the ANZAC. First, you get a command helicopter, the Bell 206 CP. You have 2 different options for APC command vehicles, which is the M577 and the AS-LAV-C, which is like the LAV but without the Bushmaster autocannon and with a machine gun instead. Then you have a normal Jeep and a command tank. Remember that I'm clicking on each one of them so you can see the stats, and you can pause the video if you want to see several different stats of different tanks, of different units. I'm not going to go one by one commenting on them because they are 3 nations and a lot of categories. So yeah, let's move on. Then we have the command infantry. So it's infantry that can command capture zones and come in Stollies, ISLAVs, Hueys, and Seahawks. The 70 is actually a Seahawk. As logistics, you have a Chinook and 2 different cargo trucks, so you can choose from which one fits you the best. One of them is much bigger than the other, of course, and well, you will go for the one you think is best. And the NDFOB. So that's the ANZAC. Let's take a look at the British. The British start with Lynx command vehicle, the FB-105 Sultan APC, the Warrior APC command vehicle with an autocannon, and the Chieftain Mark 10 command vehicle. Then we have the command infantry, which comes in Stalwarts, Saxons, FB-432s, Lynx AH1s, and Lynx AH7s. Jeeps, we have the Rover CP, and well, this is actually another APC command vehicle, which is the 8105C. Then we have as logistics the Alvis Stalwart, pretty much the same as in Alien Battle, the Chinook, and an FOP. Finally, let's take a look at the Canadians. The Canadians have the command squad, which come in an M23 truck, a Grizzly, a Bison, Huey, which is actually a Huey, and I think this is a twin Huey. So yeah, those are the options for your command infantry. Then you have 2 different Jeeps options, the M38 and the Iltis, if you want to go for that. One much faster than the other, of course. Then you have the Grizzly as an APC command vehicle, or the M577, which is very common to the NATO units, to be honest. And then as a command vehicle, you have a Leopard C1. Moving on, as logistic units, we have another massive CH-147 with high fuel capacity, FOB of course, and 2 options for your logistics. You can either go for a normal truck or a much bigger HLBW. By the way, it's time you see a work in progress in the screen here. That means that the representation, the 3D model, is actually a work in progress. It's not the definitive model, so probably this won't look like this, but well, that's it. So those are our options for logistics. Let's take a look at infantry and let's start with the ANZAC. We ANZAC start with the Assault Pioneers, which are flamethrowers. And you will notice that most of these units come in the same transport option, so let's take a look at them. The Stolly, the M113A1 with a 30 cal machine gun, the M113A1 with a 50 cal machine gun, the ASLAV, the Huey, and the Seahawk. Those are the options for all the infantry in the ANZAC. Light infantry is going to be given by the diggers. Now I'm going to do this because, of course, diggers come in two different flavors: the Cat C version and the Cat A 1990 version. So you can see different weapons, different properties. Up to you which one you select, and of course depends a lot in the category you choose to make your deck. So that's the standard line infantry. Then we have the Maoris. The Maoris are the shock infantry for the ANZAC. Again, come in two different flavors, Cat C and Cat A. Again, weapons change, some changes in the configuration. This is shock infantry. This actually has a bonus of rate of fire over the line infantry. As ATGMs, you have the Milan teams with the Milan F1. We have the MRAM, which is actually a tank hunting team. It's not actually an ATGM. It's infantry, units of 5 soldiers with Calcus tabs. And we move on to manpads. We have the RBS 70 and the Red Eye, which is not that great, but well, of course, that what you are able to pick depends on the category of your deck. And then, as special forces, commandos, we have the SAS Air, which comes just in one flavor, but yeah, this is the elite unit, infantry unit for the ANZAC. So we are done with the ANZAC. Let's take a look at the United Kingdom. Let's take first a look at the different options you have for transport. You have the Stalwart, you have the Saxon, you have the FV432, sorry, you have the Warrior, and you have the Warrior with explosive reactive armor, which of course has a little bonus of armor over the standard one. Then as helicopters, you can get Lynx AH7s or Lynx AH1s, and certain units come with Pumas. As you can see, work in progress. That's because you can see this is Armel Terre, this is the French Puma. They still need to make one with British markings, but whatever. Let's take a look at the infantry proper. Fusiliers, which are the line infantry for the British and come again into flavors depending on the era. You can see the difference. Mostly is the anti-tank rocket. The Fusiliers 90 get a really good anti-tank rocket. Then we have the Gurkhas. The Gurkhas are actually shock infantry for the British. Also come into flavors. You can see the differences between them. They come with a Sterling machine gun, CQC, a Sterling submachine gun, sorry, and a CQC in the 90s flavor. And they only come either in Pumas or in trucks. Next, let's take a look at the manpads. We have the blowpipe, which is honestly one of the worst manpads in the whole game, but still is there. And you have the javelins. It's not the American javelin, by the way. This is a British missile, not the American one. Much better manpads than the blowpipe. Moving on, ATGMs, we have Milan ones. And I'm going to click on this so you can see the difference. Milan 2s. Mostly it's a little bit of accuracy bonus, but mostly it's the AP power which goes really up. More shock infantry. We have the paratroopers, which of course usually come in helicopters. Into flavors again, the Cat C1 and the Cat A1. Differences, you can look at them. Okay, so let's move now to the next thing, which is going to be reservists, which now the British get. They get with a Saracen, and well, I mean, these things are not really good for other things than spamming them and garrison in places, but whatever. you have reservists now. They are called territorials. And finally, the elite units, which come with the Royal Marines. Again, two flavors, Cat A and Cat C. You can see the differences here. And the SAS, which is one of the changes in the British deck. They are no longer in the recon zone. They are now in the infantry zone. And they only get Pumas. Anyway, as you can see, work in progress. They are with the markings of the French. They have to reskin this Puma, but whatever. The SAS has changed a little bit. Well, they still are elite, but now they get a Stinger instead of a blowpipe, and an 84 as an 80 rocket. Really good infantry, really good. So yeah, that's it for the British. Let's see the Canadians. Well, the Canadians, we are going to look at the vehicles first, and then we start with the units. First, we get a Grizzly, APC, really fast APC, really good. We get a Bison, APC, which is also really fast and really good. This is actually an ASLAV, the same one as the Ansat gets. N113A1, CH11B, no, 11.8, sorry, which is a Huey, and CH135, which is actually the twin Huey. They have more options down here. For instance, the Canadian rifles can come, the 90s version can come in the TH495, which is an infantry combat vehicle with autocannon, with an autocannon. So yeah. So first, blowpipes. We have already seen this. Really crappy unit, to be honest. But let's start with the light infantry. Actually, let's start with the Canadian rifles. In two flavors. One thing to note here is that the Canadians don't have a 90 unit, they have an 85 unit. So actually you can pick this one, the 85 unit, you can pick it in Cat B decks. So that's really useful, and it's the same with the airborne and many other units. Canadians get the infantry upgrade with Cat B, not Cat A, as is usual in most other nations. Others also have this, but most of them are 90s. So yeah, you can see the differences here. Then we move into Shock Infantry, Canadian Airborne. It's come again into different formats. Moving on, we go to the ATGM, which is a pretty interesting ATGM unit. Two soldiers with an Eric's short range, very short range ATGM, but with high accuracy and a heck of an AP power. This thing really kills tanks really quickly. Then we move on to the Highlanders, which are actually line infantry. They are regulars, as you can see. However, they cost 20. Why they cost 20 while the normal line infantry costs 10? Well, because the rocket. You can see they have the normal one has a Carl Gustav, which is a heck of a rocket, but the 90 flavor come with an Eric's, the same one as in the ATGM unit, but now you get into a 10 strong unit. So this is a really powerful anti-tank unit. Short range, but really good. Next in line, you get another Manpass, the Javelin, which is exactly the same as the British one. Tank Hunter teams in the shape of the MAW. And the Flamethrower Infantry. And that's it for the Canadian Infantry. Let's take a look. No, I'm sorry, but no play now. Now let's take a look at the support units, and let's start with the ANZAC. The ANZAC actually don't get many. First, we have a pretty crappy short-range howitzer with a huge dispersion, but very cheap. So yeah. Also, you get a lot of them. So this is actually a very useful unit for smoke missions, but they are not really good for anything else. Then you have pretty common mortar with the standard range, and yep. And then you have two different AAs. The Track Rapier, which kills choppers mostly, is an IR, fire and forget missile. And then the Track Rapier, which is a radar guided AA unit for use mostly against planes. And that's it. You don't get more support as the ANZAC. British, of course, get a lot more stuff. Starting with the mortars, the FB432 mortar, which is the mortar unit. They have the FB433 Abbott artillery. Then you have the AS90 artillery long range, much more accurate than the Abbott. And keeping on in artillery, we have the N110RA, the N110A2RA, and a rocket launcher. This rocket launcher is actually interesting because it has changed somewhat from, well, it has changed a lot. One of the big problems I have with the Red Dragon is the way artillery is modeled. It's much more lethal than in WarGame Airland Battle. Anyway, this doesn't fire HE ammunition. This actually fires cluster ammunition. So it's great against tanks. Actually can kill tanks. AP power of 2, so yeah, that can kill tanks, APCs, command vehicles, whatever. Let's move on to anti-aircraft. FB434 Falcon. Now 2 new units, the marksmen, I should say, in the Chieftain and in the Challenger chassis. Now the big thing about this is, well, they are pretty slow, to be honest. Mostly the Chieftain is really slow. But if you see, they have a huge front armor. So they are really good to support front assaults, keeping up with your tanks. They are going to resist a lot of hits from the front. Moving on, we have the Stormer HMB, which is a radar guided AA unit. And we have the Track Rapier and the Track Rapier FSA. So that's it for the British. Let's move on to the Canadians. Canadians get a Bison Mortar. They get a Centurion Marksman, which is pretty common, similar to the British one, but of course it gets a lot less armor and is much slower. Still, the weapon system is pretty much the same. Then you have the ADATs, mixed ATGM and AA unit, really powerful. You get even more mortars in the shape of the M125, and then you have two tube artilleries in the shape of the M109 RCHA and the M109A2. So that's the support for the Commonwealth. Moving on to tanks. Let's start with the ANZAC. We start with the Centurion Mark 5-1, which is a pretty cheap, spammable unit. Leopard SA1, Leopard SA1 Plus, which is actually a decent unit for 65 points, really long range gun. And then you have the lights, the M41A1, the Walker Bulldog. So, yeah, tiny funny tank, to be honest. Very spammable at 10 rounds, at 10 points, sorry. And you get a lot of them. Scorpion light tank. And then the 90 version of the Scorpion. As you can see, mostly the differences come from the gun. Hold on, there. Much more accurate, better stabilizer, better AP power, etc. So those are the tanks for the ANZAC. Now let's move to the United Kingdom. I know you are waiting to see it. I know it. Yeah, here it is. The Challenger 2. Hell of a tank. Brutal frontal armor. Finally not that slow. Yeah, this is a really good tank. Problem is availability, of course, and price is really expensive. But yeah, that's the Challenger 2 for you. Now moving on, we have the already known Challenger 1 Mark 1, Challenger 1 Mark 2, Challenger 1 Mark 3, which is actually new, You can compare it with the Mark II, which is currently in airline battle. And we have and get, of course, also the Chieftains. Chieftain Mark II, Chieftain Mark V, Chieftain Mark X, and Chieftain Mark 11, which I think is also new, by the way. So you can see how it compares with the Mark 10. Which is actually, I'm looking at it, it's pretty much the same. Hmm? Curious. Oh, the gun. Yeah, the gun is better. Alright. So, finally, the Scorpion Light Tank, which we already know. And those are the tanks for the British. Let's see the Canadians. The Canadians get the Centurion Mark 5. Well, ATGM fitted Centurion Mark 5 AT, but the ATGM is not really great. But still, it's an ATGM. Centurion Mark 6 and Centurion Mark 11. Those of them are really cheap and spammable. Then we move on to the Leos, the Leopard C1, the Leopard C2, and the Star Wars tank, the Leopard C2 Mexas, which is covered all around with explosive reactive armor. This is actually a really good tank for its price. 85 points, 14 frontal armor, really good gun. So yeah, those are the tanks for the Commonwealth. Let's move on and take a look at the Recon. First with the ANZAC. We have the Squirrel, very fast, helicopter, Recon helicopter, AS LAV 25, which is actually a proper LAV with the Bushmaster, but only good optics. Then we have the AS LAV S, which is the LAV without the Bushmaster, but exceptional optics. Another Recon chopper, the Bell 206, with a minigun. We have several different jeeps, the LRBP Rover and the Perenti, which actually carries a grenade launcher on top of a machine gun. Both of them get exceptional optics. Now here we have another jeep with very good optics, a standard Rover and a Ferret. And we also can have M113A1 in two different versions, the machine gun one and one with 76mm heat gun. Both of them have good optics. Now, as for infantry goes, we have the North Force, which is the infantry Recon standard unit, and we have the New Zealand SAS, which is an elite unit and it's Recon, and yeah, well, that's what you get. Now let's go to the British. The British have a Scorpion, a Scimitar, Ferret Mark II, Ferret with a Swingfire ATGM. This is actually a pretty interesting unit because it has a very good optics as well, while the standard Ferret only gets a good. And the Fox, with good optics again. Helicopters, you have the Gazelle AH-1 and the Gazelle AH-1 SNEV, which has rockets on top of exceptional optics. Then we move on and we'll see that we have Green Jackets as the Recon unit, the well-known Robert Pinky with his exceptional optics, and SBSs, which replace the SAS as Recon Special Forces. So you can see these ones don't have an AA missile, also coming Pumas as a SAS. And let's move on to the Canadians. Canadians get a CH-136, which actually is underwhelming because it only has good optics. Ferret Mark 1, N113 Lynx, Cougar Recon, and Coyote, which is an LAV, basically. It is Scout with exceptional optics, and then they have line recon unit, but in units of 2, so they get exceptional stealth. They also get a sniper rifle instead of an anti-tank rocket, and Pathfinders, which is the elite Canadian recon unit. So yeah, that's it for recon for the Commonwealth. Let's move on and take a look at the vehicles. Because for the ANZAC, well, an LAV, pretty standard one, an LAV with a TOW 2, which is actually a pretty strong unit, I'm gonna tell you that. A Ferret NTAC, which has the NTAC ATGM, which, well, accuracy 35% is not that good, but still, yeah, it's kind of another ATGM unit. Jeep M40 with a recoilless rifle, Roger Wombat with a recoilless rifle, Robert Milan with a Milan ATGM, N113 with a minigun, and N113 FSB with a 76mm gun. So those are the vehicles for the ANZAC. Let's move on to the United Kingdom. We have the Centurion engineered vehicle, the Striker with the Swingfire ATGM, the Rarden, which is kind of an IFV, but it doesn't carry infantry, the Saladin, the Robert Wombat, and the Robert Milan. Canadians get the Chimera. We all love this unit from WarGame Airland Battle. Well, we love it if we have it. If we have to go against it, ooh. Cougar, LAV with a TOW 2 launcher. Very, very strong ATGM, the TOW 2. Really strong. N113 with a recoil rifle. N150 with a TOW, with an ITOW, and with an TOW 2. So lots of options here. Jeep with a recoilless rifle, sorry. Jeep with a TOW. Actually, this is strange. This probably is a bug, because it says that the normal one has a TOW 2. Okay, time to report a bug here. This actually should be a normal TOW. And a Jeep with a TOW 2. And those are the vehicles for the Commonwealth. Let's move on to helicopters. The helicopters for the ANZAC. Yeah, that's right. None. For the United Kingdom, pretty interesting things here. We have the Lynx AH1 TOW, Lynx AH7 TOW 2, and the brand new Lynx 3, which is a hell of a helicopter. Has Hellfires and Stingers. As you can see, work in progress. The model is still not done. And we have the trustworthy Lynx with 20mm twin cannons. This is for the British. Now let's move on to the Canadians. Canadians get the a Huey gunship with a couple of miniguns and rocket launchers. Another version of the Huey with different rockets. And a Huey, no, actually that's a Lynx, sorry, with the S11 ATGM. So those are the helicopters for the Commonwealth. And finally, let's move on and show the air options. ANZAC, with very interesting options, have to tell you. Not necessarily very powerful, but really interesting. First one is a really cheap Skyhawk with a single Maverick missile and a couple AA, well, actually 4 AA missiles on top of a cannon. A Skyhawk with a better Maverick. Let's hold on so you can see both of them, and better missiles as well. Then we have the Strike Master with napalm and machine guns. The MB339 CB with more napalm. The F111 CS, and this thing is brutal. I mean, 1000 kilogram bombs. If you know what a Nighthawk does in the battlefield, well, multiply it by 8 and you get this. Of course, it's not stealthy, but whatever. F4A Phantom, which is actually the fighter version. FA-18 Hornet with 500 kilogram bombs. Mirage 3-0 in the attack version with 8 bombs and AA missiles. And the Mirage 3-0 fighter version with just the AA missiles. Those are the options for the ANZAC. Now let's move on to the British. There's new goodies here as well. First of all, the Eurofighter. Lovely and sexy. The Harrier, Year 1, Year 3, and Year 5, we all know from WarGame and Battle. But a new one, the Harrier Year 7, which is very similar to the Harrier AB-8C of the Americans. Couple Mavericks, couple Sidewinder M's. This is really a very good unit, I can tell you that. The only problem, they only come in rookies. If they came in elite, it would be much better. But still, this is a very good unit. Then we had the Jaguar Year 1 with cluster bombs. The Year 1A with an anti-tank missile. Actually, 2. The Sea Harrier with alarm missiles. Finally, yeah, the British get SEAD missiles. Exceptional detection, but not really good ACM. That's the problem. They get SEAD planes, but they are not really great. Anyway, moving on. Sea Harrier FRS-1, which is basically the plane that won the air war over the Malvinas or the Falklands. Tornado ADB F2 and Tornado ADB F3. And to complete it all, the Tornado Year 1 IDS with cluster bombs. As you can see, yeah, there are some new goodies here. The Canadians also get some new things, and the problem is that they are not so good. The first thing is this. Oh, yeah. This is the Canadian version of the A101 Voodoo. It has 4 IR missiles, but they are Falcons and they are shit. There's no other way to put it. This is good for flavor, but honestly, I can't see this plane doing anything useful in the game. I mean, the Falcon was a shit missile in real life, so no big deal. You have the Starfighter, same one as in WarGame Lambao. The Freedom Fighter with 3 500 kilogram bombs. The CF-18 Hornet with 4 cluster bombs and AA missiles. The CF-18-8 Hornet with Sparrow missiles, Sidewinders, sorry, 6 of them. This is a really, really powerful plane. And finally, a SEAD plane, which is actually not that bad. I mean, it has a 50% ECM. But the anti-radar missile itself is not really good. Really, if you pick this, pick it in elite, because otherwise you are not going to hit anything with this. But yeah, it's the Voodoo. So yeah, that's it for the Commonwealth review. Those are the units that you will be having at your disposal if you go for a Commonwealth deck, or individually if you go for each one of those nations. ANZAC, United Kingdom, or Canada. I hope you enjoyed, guys. I hope you had fun watching this. I hope you are excited for the new units that are coming in Red Dragon. If you want to see a special deck for the next video review, just tell me in the comment section below. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and see you later.